Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys Daniel Naroditsky's peak bullet elo, blitz elo, and rapid elo on chess.com. Now, Daniel Naroditsky unfortunately recently passed away on October 19th, 2025, and today would actually be his 30th birthday if he was still alive, so I thought I could make a small tribute video for him. And additionally, this is a series I've been wanting to do for a while, where I take top players and I show all of their peak elos on chess.com. So I thought, what not better to start with than Daniel Naroditsky. So I hope I can make this as respectful as possible. And yeah, I mean it's hard. I've never really made a video like this before, but we're gonna start with his bullet game where he hit an elo of 3,553, which I believe is the second highest bullet elo on the entire website, behind Hikaru. So this game starts off with e4, and after e6, d4, d5, we get knight c3, and we get a trade of pawns, and very soon we also get a trade of knights. Now, after knight takes f6 and c3, we leave theory with bishop d6, and a couple moves later we get castles, and as you can see, white already has 3 pieces developed, black has 2, but they are also castled. So white can castle really at any moment, but overall, the position is about equal, and white does castle here, and after bishop e7, we get rook e1, going on the semi-open file. So we get queen e7, then we get h3, c5, and right here there's a potential capture where, I mean, you can trade pieces and open up this d-file. However, Daniel decides to keep the tension going and eventually puts his rook on a d1, which potentially suggest that he will open up this file very soon. Now, after h6, we get knight e5, a very interesting move, and after queen c7, we get knight g4, and this move is very powerful because it has threats of taking this pawn, but it also, I mean, if the knight doesn't move, you could take the knight and open up the structure, but also, if black takes this knight, then white will actually have a very powerful square for this queen, and I mean this position is still about equal, but it looks very rough for the black pieces. However, we get knight d5 here, and Daniel actually decides to sacrifice the bishop here, and this move is considered a miss. However, this move is probably the best move, and the engine that is analyzing it is like a little bit off, because later in the line, they actually favor this over the knight sacrifice, which is kind of interesting. But anyways, Andrew Tang decides to take here, which makes sense. And after takes, we get king g7 here, and then we get queen g4. And as you can see, this black king is being attacked very brutally. And after Andrew Tang takes this knight, thinking that it's safe, Daniel actually plays the brilliant rook takes e6. And Penguin GM resigns on the spot, because if the rook is taken, then there is actually just a checkmate right here, and I mean that's pretty self-explanatory. The king can't move actually. If the pawn goes in the way, then there is a checkmate still. And last but not least, if the knight blocks, then Daniel can just take this knight and win the game. So Daniel actually wins this game very quickly. This was a 20-move game, and now we're gonna move on to the blitz game. I forgot to mention this, but that last game was actually played on November 30th, 2020, which is ironically Daniel's birthday month. And this blitz game is also played during Daniel's birthday month on November 16th, 2024, where Daniel hit a blitz elo of 3,278, which I believe is probably in the top 10 highest blitz elos of all time. I'm not 100% sure, but nonetheless, it's still very, very impressive. So this game had a lot more moves than the bullet game. It was played against Alireza Firouzja, who also had a pretty impressive blitz elo of 31.97. But anyways, let's look at this game now. So this game starts with e4 c6, and after d4 d6, Alireza Firouzja kind of plays a smaller version of the Caro Kann instead of playing the usual d5, which is kind of interesting. And after knight f3, we get queen c7, already leaving theory, which perhaps suggests that Firouzja was trying to get Daniel out of his prep. However, due to not playing a normal opening, we get c4 from Daniel, and Daniel is technically already +1 in this position because this center is very powerful, and Daniel already has a piece developed versus Firouzja still only has a queen. However, it's still probably not decisive, and it's probably a draw with perfect play. But anyways, we get e5, striking the center, and after knight c3, knight f6, we get g3, setting up a fianchetto, and also castles. I remember Hikaru saying that Daniel loved his fianchettos in a tribute video, so I mean, I guess that kind of proves his words here. And after bishop g4, we do get the fianchetto, which makes sense, defending the knight. The engine actually wants bishop e2 here, which is very interesting. I mean, this move definitely feels more comfortable for a human to play. However, I do see the point of bishop e2 being played also. But anyways, we get knight bd7, and after h3, we kick the bishop. The bishop actually does not take the knight, but instead slides back. And Daniel plays g4 here, a very aggressive move, trying to kick the bishop out. However, it might cause him problems while he's castled in the future. But anyways, we get bishop g6, the best move, because, I mean, it's kind of the only move. And after knight h4, Daniel actually kind of has this bishop trapped, and if Daniel wants to, he can take advantage of having the bishop pair, but at the cost of perhaps opening up this file, which is where Daniel looks like he might plan to castle. However, Daniel's not actually forced to castle here. He may develop this bishop and queen, and castle queenside in the future, or he might just not castle at all. That's kind of the beauty of chess. You can really castle wherever you want. And after bishop e7, we get g5, a very aggressive move, but also the best move. And after knight h5, we get knight f5, not even taking this bishop, and maybe having plans of taking this pawn if we can somehow kick this knight out, which is very, very poorly placed, to be honest. I mean, we might even have bishop here in the future, just trapping this knight. And if the knight goes here, then of course the pawn hangs. But anyways, after this, we get ex d4, and we get queen x d4, and this actually already adds another attacker to this pawn. But Firouzja actually plays knight c5 here. He's not too afraid of losing this pawn, I suppose. And after bishop f3, it looks like Daniel is actually threatening to take this knight, because if Daniel can take that knight successfully, then there will be this right here, which is a simple fork, and Firouzja will definitely lose the game if that happens. So Firouzja plays knight e6, defending this pawn, a very nice clutch move. And after queen d1, we actually threaten this knight, and this knight has to move somewhere. So the knight simply jumps to f4, which is also something that the knight defends. So, I mean, this knight really did two things. It's a very powerful knight. But we actually do get knight takes g7 here, and Daniel actually does pick up a pawn. However, after knight e6, bishop g3, Firouzja actually picks this pawn back up, and after bishop g2, the position has pushed back to equal due to a couple mistakes that Daniel has made. But anyways, we get queen a5, and after castles, it does look like Daniel's position does look a little bit favorable here. However, this might get scary if the rook jumps on this open file. But anyways, we get knight e6, f4, and bishop h5. So both players are playing a very aggressive game. And we get queen d2 here, which is considered a mistake by the engine. However, it's not really that terrible. But anyways, after rook g8, Firouzja attacks Daniel's bishop, which is kind of loose. And the king actually steps up to h2 and defends it, which is very, it's kind of a cold move, really. I mean, having the king defend its pieces. But after this, Firouzja simply long castles, and Firouzja's position all of a sudden is starting to look very favorable. And as you can see, Daniel makes a really big blunder here, f5. And this is actually a really big blunder because of the crazy rook takes g3. And if Daniel were to simply take this rook, then there's a pretty crazy line of queen e5, king f2, bishop g5, and they're saying the best move is queen e1 here. And after, there's a line here where black can play queen h2, which is very powerful. But also there's a very simple bishop h4 here, and this simply will pick up the queen. And after we get like takes, whatever happens here, this is going to be a completely winning position for the black pieces. So yeah, I mean, this would have been very devastating, and Daniel probably would have not hit his peak blitzula here. But instead of that, Firouzja actually plays bishop g5 here, missing that really beautiful tactic. I mean, I probably would have missed it too, though. even in a classical game, so it's not 100% surprising. But anyways, after queen f2, we get knight c5, and after f6, we actually kind of trap in this bishop in a little, or in a small way. I mean, this bishop cannot jump back here. It does still have some squares, of course, but I mean, this bishop may get attacked a bit more in the future. But anyways, we get bishop g6, and after h4, the bishop is forced to slide back, and this is a very awkward square for the bishop, because even if it moves here, I mean, that just looks even worse, because you kind of have to move this pawn out if you want this bishop to really go anywhere. So this position does slowly become more favorable for the white pieces. As you can see, it's +2, and after h5, sacrificing a pawn, we get knight d3 as like a counter, hitting the queen, and we get queen e2, hitting the knight and the bishop at the same time. So after this, we get queen takes h5, and instead of trading off the queens, we get a block with a check, preventing the queen trade. And after the king moves, Daniel actually picks up an entire knight here, and I mean, this looks completely winning, right? Because Daniel has a piece for a pawn. However, the game is still not over, and Firouzja continues to fight. The time is getting low for both players, as you can see, 43 seconds to 50 seconds. If that's working, yeah, it does work on my OBS, I just had to check. But then we get rook ge8, and we get queen f3. Of course, Daniel now, he wants to trade the queens, because, I mean, he's winning. But Firouzja now declines, and now we get bishop f5, trying to trade off the bishops, and there's no real way out of this. So, I mean, we get queen takes c4, and after bishop xd6, taking the pawn back, we get bishop g5, bishop g3, and we get a trade of rooks. And, I mean, Daniel is slowly but surely getting closer to a completely winning endgame. However, after a6, bishop f2, Firouzja takes this pawn, and it does kind of look like there is simply takes here. However, this doesn't work, because after takes, there is the counter bishop e5, which I didn't even see myself. And, I mean, this position is definitely still winning for white. However, it does get kind of dangerous looking. I mean, the rook might jump here in the future and throw in some checks, and who knows what's happening there. But anyways, wait, is that actually what happens in the game? Oh, it is. That's actually kind of funny. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I wasn't looking at the line. Okay, but anyways, we get queen e3, and we get bishop b8, preventing the checkmate here. And after b3, queen e6, we get bishop g3, which is a mistake because, I mean, it equalizes, and it allows this queen g4 move, which is missed by Firouzja. But after queen f3, bishop c5, knight a4, the bishop still has to kind of stay on this diagonal, or there's this check perhaps. So the bishop does stay on the diagonal, and then we get e5, which is a mistake. And after rook h8, we get queen f6, which loses a lot of the advantage. And this allows queen h3, and I mean, this bishop is very hard to defend. The king goes to f3, and after queen h5, we get queen e2. And it almost looks like Firouzja is going to win Daniel's rook, which would be completely winning. So we get bishop f2, queen g4, and it actually kind of looks like we're about to have a repetition. However, Firouzja prevents that by playing queen e4, and then we get queen f3 from Daniel. And it kind of looks like there is this rook move right here with rook h2 sacrificing the rook. However, this is apparently drawing, which is kind of interesting, because I guess, yeah, the rook kind of jumps in, and then, then there's a repetition with knight here, the king goes back, and then you just kind of repeat it over and over and over again, and the game ends in a draw, which I actually didn't even see myself, and Firouzja does not want to draw. He does not, he thinks he has winning chances here, which is fair enough. But instead we get a trade of bishops, which makes sense, and after king takes a7, we get check, and then we get a big blunder here because of this move right here, knight b6, and I mean, this is just completely winning, because if the king goes here, there is simply a fork, and if the king goes down, then there is the same move, and I mean, yeah, this is completely winning, but Daniel actually misses that, and instead he plays king g1, which is a completely like devastating losing move. And after queen g5, Firouzja actually misses it here. He has to play queen here, and after king f1, this position is, yeah, after rook h3, this is like completely winning for the black pieces. I actually want to go down this line. Let me see why. King here, apparently. This is actually a very strange line. I do see why this wasn't played in the game, because yeah, this is kind of complicated. And apparently the queen has to block. What happens if the rook blocks? Oh, it's like almost a checkmate, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, it is a checkmate. That is, yeah, I mean, that would have been a very crazy ending to this game. But that actually did not happen in the game, and instead, Firouzja traded off the queens here, and they got into this kind of equal endgame where the black pieces have 3 pawns for a knight, and I mean, this could end in a draw theoretically, but instead we get rook c8, which is a blunder because there is simply a fork here, which Daniel does not miss this time. Daniel knows his tactics. And after this, this is just a completely winning endgame. I will kind of skip through this conversion. It makes sense. Yep, there we go. And I mean, yeah, Daniel picks up this pawn, and I'm pretty sure all grandmasters that have ever lived on this planet know how to checkmate with a rook and a pawn. So a couple moves later, Firouzja does indeed resign the game. And this game had an 82.1% accuracy for Daniel, which is of course very good. So we're going to show one more game for this video, his peak rapid game, which was played quite a while ago, and it was actually played against a much lower ELO player, so I will jump to that game. So here it is. This game was played on August 30th, 2019. It was played against an international master who was only 1942 and rapid at the time. I'm assuming this probably means that this person did not play much rapid, because I'm guessing they were probably a much higher skill level to get paired with Dania. And Dania hit a rapid ELO of 2,919, which of course is very good. Unfortunately with rapid ELOs, it actually seems like though a lot of the top ELOs were kind of inaccurate, just because top players don't really play that much rapid. However, this game is still pretty impressive, as Dania played with a 93.6% accuracy. But without further ado, let's go into this game. This game starts off with knight f3, knight f6, g3, g6, b3, and bishop g7. And as you can see, Dania kind of prepares the double fianchetto. Obviously, he kind of has to fianchetto this bishop first, or else there's like potential tactics of this knight jumping somewhere and opening up this very risky looking diagonal. But yeah, we get bishop b2, castles, and then we get bishop g2, and it definitely seems like Dania is going for an approach where he has all of his pieces out, but he doesn't really push for the center as much. And his opponent's actually going for a very similar route. But anyways, we get c5, and we get c4. It kind of looks like they're copying each other in some ways, and after knight c6, Dania finally decides to castle here, and the position is still pretty much equal. But anyways, afterwards, we get d6, d4, cx d4, knight x d4, bishop d7, and we get knight c2. This knight kind of jumps to this pretty nice square here with potential jump areas, and Dania may try to develop this knight in the future. However, I don't think he wants to block in this bishop yet, just in case this knight tries to jump somewhere and now it's pinned. So we get rook c8, but then we do get knight c3 here finally, and after knight e8 trying to open up the pin, we just get queen d2, simply adding another defender to this knight. Now after knight c7, we get knight e3, and after a6, we get knight c d5, and it almost looks like it hangs the bishop, but actually the bishop is nicely defended by the queen, and we do get a trade of bishops here, and after takes, we get bishop b6 here, probably trying to prevent this fork. Actually, no, there's no fork there. Sorry, that was kind of a that was bad by me. I didn't even realize that. But anyways, yeah, we get bishop e6 here, and after knight f4, we get queen d7 defending this bishop. However, if Dania wants to, he could take this and have the bishop versus the knight, but Dania decides he does not want to do that and instead plays rook fd1. And after g5, Dania actually does take here. I'm sorry, I'm not looking ahead into the lines. We get queen x e6, And then we get rook d5, perhaps going after this pawn, and I mean, if Daniel can take that, he's definitely going to be winning. Like, I mean, just for example, let's say this got played, I mean, this is literally, I mean, you're winning the queen by force, and yeah, I mean, Daniel would have won the game much quicker, but the opponent, of course, is smart enough to defend that pawn, and after rook ad1, we have a pretty powerful d file, and we might see c5 in the future, opening up this file. However, there isn't much to do on this file just yet, so he's probably preparing that for later. So we get knight e5 here, and after queen d2, we get a triple stack on this file. So Daniel definitely has something brewing. And after knight g6, we get h4, trying to open up this king. Of course, if the opponent takes here, then there is, alright, that was actually played in the game. There's probably queen takes h6, which was also played in the game. And after hxg3, we get rook h5 here, threatening a checkmate. And how is the opponent going to defend this? They simply throw in this check right here. However, Daniel uses this pawn as an umbrella pawn, which is like a concept where you use the pawn as a defense. And, I mean, this checkmate's very hard to stop. The rook has to move over, kind of, and after this, we get bishop takes b7, which is considered an inaccuracy, but I mean, it's a free pawn, why not take it? And the position is almost equal in, like, material if Daniel were to take this pawn. However, he chooses not to, because, I mean, it's very crucial to his defense, and, I mean, if he were to take it, there's probably some sort of repetition that will result in a draw. So we get bishop d5 here, and after queen f6, we get rook g5. And this move actually threatens to take this knight, as you can see, because if the opponent takes back and Daniel takes, this pawn cannot capture the queen as it is pinned. And in the game, we get e6 and bishop e4, and now this knight is being like triple threatened. And after this, we get queen g7, and we get queen h5 here, and I mean, now this is like very deadly. I mean, if Daniel takes this knight here, after takes, this is actually just a pin, and Daniel is going to win the opponent's queen. So the opponent plays king f8, trying to escape. However, we get bishop takes g6 here, and after fx g6, rook x g6, Daniel is pretty much up a pawn if you don't count this one. And after queen e5, queen h7, there is almost nothing stopping this checkmate threat. The opponent simply plays d5 and accepts that Daniel is going to play a checkmate, which allows Daniel to hit a rapid elo of 2,919. So, yeah, this was a pretty sad video to make, but also pretty happy to express all of Daniel's peaks. Of course, he has a lot more peaks on, like, lead chess and, of course, over-the-board chess. But, I mean, that would make a very, very long video, and I thought that this would be a nice tribute video to make for Daniel, so RIP, and thank you guys so much for watching, and goodbye.